Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because today we're going to be discussing 10 things that I wish I knew / that you should know before you go and dance full time. Now this is a video that I wish someone had made for me before I had moved countries and flown my entire life over to Australia to dance full time. So this video is for any dancers out there who are considering dancing full time, any dancers who are going to a full-time school, and anyone who's just interested in what maybe the dance world looks like. Now, I will preface by saying that this is based off of my personal experience. I studied full-time at Brent Street in Sydney, Australia. I absolutely had like the best year of my life, and I learned so much about myself and the industry and dancing, and like it reunited my love for dance. If you want to go watch any of those videos from my time at Brent Street, it is all up on my channel. I've got my grad vlog, I've got a day in the life vlog of what it's like doing a day of study at Brent Street. You know it's about to get real and serious when I bring out the big mic and I have my matcha latte. Matcha and oat milk. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, my first tip is do your research. Now, what I mean by that, like do your research encapsulates a whole bunch of stuff, okay? So I do think it is important for every performer and dancer out there to look at the options that you have, just so that you can make a decision that is best for you. Now, I always just deeply resonated with the full-time school that I decided to go to, so for me it was a no-brainer, but I really encourage any dancer out there who's looking to study full-time to just do as much research as you possibly can on the school itself, the culture around the school, the type of people who go to each school, because each school attracts a different type of culture. Full-time school I went to had a very competitive culture, which is why I loved it so much, because I just like thrive. I actually thrive off of that energy, so that's how I knew that was right for me. It's important to research the type of styles they're going to do. The course that I did, for example, I knew encapsulated every style and had really like commercialized teachers. So I felt like I was getting the training that was right for me. But for example, if you wanted to be a ballerina, obviously you're not going to go to a commercial school. So just really do your research and see what each school and each course offers, and make sure that what you are paying all this money for is actually going to help you in your career. Research your teachers. Now this is so beyond important, because in the industry it's important to know who's above you, who's going to hire you, what experience they have, and why certain choreographers are so idolized, what they've achieved in their career. So with that tip, I say make sure you research who your teachers are going to be, know who teaches at the specific full-time school that you're looking at, and make sure you research what they've done in their career, where they've trained, what they specialize in, because it's so important to know, especially when they're giving you so much advice. You want to know where that advice comes from. And of course, because they're teaching at full-time schools, it's going to be legit. But even with choreographers around the world, if you're ever taking class, it's so important to know who they are and why they're giving you the advice they're giving you. My second tip is invest in what you wear. Now, I will tell you, as much as people don't like to admit it, what you look like in this industry is so important. And that is something, especially coming from New Zealand. I feel like our culture here, we don't care about like physical image at all. Like if you're walking down the street, okay, you're not going to see people with Botox and like their hair done up fancy, and they're not going to be dressing in like super bougie outfits. It's just not how Kiwi culture works. Like we have people who literally just walk around in their bare feet in the supermarket. So this was a shock to me, but in the dance industry, what you look like does matter. Take it as you will. This took quite a long time for me to get my head around, until I realized that part of our job is to be aesthetic and to fit a brand and to fit a style, and part of our job, especially in the commercial industry, is to look hot. And it may seem like degrading or really shallow, but it's just a fact, and I want to be brutally honest and just tell you that. So with that, tip number 2 is invest in what you wear. Buy good quality clothing. It doesn't have to be branded, you just have to look slick. Find clothes that you look and feel good in. If you're dancing full time, you're going to be staring at yourself and critiquing your body in a mirror for 30 hours a week. So you want to be looking and feeling good. Trust me on that one. Make sure that you have outfits put together. This was another one for me that I wish someone had told me beforehand. When I used to go to class, I just like chuck on activewear that I felt good in. I didn't really think about making it a look. When you're in full-time dance, you are in the beginning of your career, okay? So it is so important how you present yourself to your teachers, because your teachers, although they're here to train you, are also eventually going to be the ones to hire you. Really play with your outfits and what makes you feel good and what makes you look good in each class and each style. If it's a hip hop class, maybe like have a cool jacket you can pop on top, or a hat you can like use as a prop in class. It took me a while to find like what I felt good in each class, and it also depends on the choreographer. So again, that comes down to your research. See, it all ties in together, because remember, you're now no longer a dance school dancer. You're not just there to like have fun, and no, you're there to train and get a job. So it less becomes about like wearing what feels fun and whatever. Yes, obviously still, but it's also about fitting the brief. If you're in musical theater, tight jazz blacks. If you're in hip hop, baggy, cool outfit. If you're in a Cassie Bartho jazz class, you're going to wear something that reflects the combo she's going to do that day. This is about booking work. You're now a professional, so what you wear does matter. This tip is the key to how I progressed so fast in full time. Now, I'm not comparing myself to other people. I'm comparing myself to my own journey, where I started at the start of the year to where I finished at the end of full time. I was a completely different person and dancer, and I genuinely put it down to the fact that I took notes after every single class. Now, you can do this in whatever format you like. When I first started full time, I would walk home and I would be typing all of my notes for the day on my phone, and I felt that that was like pretty good because then I could have them accessible anywhere. However, when I moved into term 3 and term 4, I started using a notebook, which is what I kind of did all throughout high school and things. And I honestly feel like this is the best method for me personally, because it just like sticks in my brain, and then I have all of my notes in one place. It's not going to get lost on my phone app with all of like the video ideas and like the random supermarket lists that I make. So I just felt personally having a journal that's dedicated to my corrections in class, life changing. What you want to do, get your journal or whatever you feel is best for you to take notes after every single class, or even during, because there's always heaps of water breaks or breaks on the side where you're just watching. I literally had my journal like in the corner of my ballet class, and like when I wasn't doing the Allegro combo, boom, I'd be writing down my notes. 2 is write down your corrections either at the end of every day, after every class. That is what I found most beneficial, or during each class, which is also what I found most beneficial. Then at the end of the week, review all your corrections, pick a couple of things that you want to focus on for the next week coming. And I say only a couple, because if you try focus on everything at once, you're going to get very overwhelmed. I also found that out the hard way. Okay, so pick a couple of things that you want to focus on for the week ahead, then make those your priority in the classes coming up. I'm literally giving you the secrets, guys. I'm going to give you the secrets. I want you guys to succeed at home. So take notes. Oh my gosh. Okay, I love this tip. Let me get this for like dramatic effect. Here is the tea, or the matcha. The reason this tip is in here is because I know there are a lot of dancers who either A, leave their written work to the very last minute. That's some of my friends and they know who they are. B, don't put any effort into their written work. Or C, and that is people would pay other people to do their work for them. Now, the reason I say actually do your written work is not just because I'm like nerdy and I just love that stuff. Yes, that applies too. But actually do your written work because your course coordinators, your teachers put that in there for a reason. They don't just chuck random stuff in your course just to like fill in space, okay? I invested so much time into my written work and research when I was in full time because I was genuinely passionate about it. And I think that's something that's also important. You have to find your passion for it. That now I can definitely say that I have a plethora of information backing me, and I can honestly, hand on heart, say that all of the theory that I did in full time applies to my life now as a working dancer. 100%. It will vary from school to school and year to year as to what your written work is. But for example, we did a whole unit on anatomy and writing workout plans. Now, let's say you're on a cruise ship, okay? You're not going to have a PT who's there to do it for you. And if you have a literal like exercise physiologist or PT or whatever on site giving you this information, write it down, absorb it, okay? Understand it. Because when you're on a job like a cruise ship where you're going to need to keep your fitness up in order to maintain the amount of hours that you're doing dance-wise, in order to look after your body and in order to prevent injury and keep your job, you are going to need to know how to write these workout programs for yourself as a dancer. There is a reason that they put it in there, okay? So important. Break it up into bite-sized chunks. Like I probably only spent like one night a week on it, maybe two, max two. Do your written work. Okay, tip number 5. I love this tip. This is something I wish I knew going into full time, and it may seem like common sense for some dancers, but it just wasn't something that I really honestly thought about. And this comes into like your business side of dancing. It is so important to invest in a high quality headshot and good full body images. They are, I will say, they are expensive. So save up. You don't have to go with the most expensive photographer out there. Like there are student photographers you can go see, and a lot of dancers do. It is probably better for you to just invest in one set of good quality headshots and body photos that you can use when you apply to every job, as opposed to invest in like a mediocre one, not get as much work, and then like have to buy a more expensive one later in your career. So I did this about in term 3 or 4 of full time, I believe. And this was because it was getting towards when people were booking agents. At the time, I was living with my flatmates, Izzy and Elle, who were professional dancers, and they'd trained at Brent Street previously. And I was kind of reflecting on how they became so successful and like what things they might have done that stood out. And I knew that one of the things was they had good high quality headshots and body shots that they could just submit to jobs like that. What I didn't realize is that when you do start booking work, directors, choreographers and agencies will just email you and ask for headshot, body shot, show reel footage. So you have to have those on hand, ready to just dish out. And you may be thinking, oh, well, I'm training full time, I don't need that. Okay, when you're training full time is the best time to do that because most people aren't going to think of it. So make sure that you do invest in a headshot and even getting a show reel done, or just film one for yourself, because if you have those on hand for when it is agent week or when agencies do start coming to you, you can easily just give them it and then boom. So much easier. Oh my gosh, I'm excited for this tip. For this tip, we have a very special guest. So this tip is related to your chorus heels for musical theatre class. So if you're not going to a full-time school that offers musical theatre, feel free to skip this. But this is so important for if you do have musical theatre class. Now, invest in So Dancers or Ladukas. It will literally change your dancing and make it so much easier for you throughout the year. Now, if I can find a video, I will put it in because I've spent the first 2 terms, or maybe a term and a half, of my training dancing in block character heels. Now, let me tell you, block character heels are not stable. It's constantly falling over, and I genuinely thought that the problem was me. They do not last long. I'm pretty sure mine broke after the first 5-6 weeks of using them, and they just don't make your feet look nice either. All of the dancers in Australia, or at least at the full-time school that I was at, they're So dancers or Ladukas because they're industry grade. Let me show you. This is one of my So dancer heels. Let me just put the mic down and show it to you. Wow, dancer takes on beauty influencer vlogging. So these are amazing. I'm not sponsored, okay? This is genuinely me trying to give you the best shot at doing the best dancing you can. I invested in a pair of these. I feel like they're like 200 and something, maybe $300, and they changed my life. They are so durable. I bought them probably in term 2 and they've lasted me all the way through. I have size 8.5. They stay on your foot. So the thing I found with my blocks is they kept I laugh because I just have vivid memories of this happening, and it was not the best look for me professionally. I'd be in class, I'd do like some sort of like jazz slide, the top of the shoe would literally like fling off of my foot and my toes would be fully exposed, and I'd just have like the shoe hanging by the strap to my foot. It was not a good look. So I'm gonna help you prevent that from happening. Now, these are amazing because they actually have like this cross strap design. And this cross strap design actually works to keep the shoe secured on your foot. So you're not gonna have any toes flying out mid-routine like I did at the start of the year. And what I also love about these is the heel is a decent height. Like it's not too high that I can't balance. And it has a really wide heel as well. So the thing I found with the Block character shoes is that the heel literally would snap from underneath me and my foot would go sideways, whereas these ones are secured onto the heel of the shoe. It has a really nice wide heel. I feel so stable when I'm dancing in them and like shifting my weight back and forth. They're nice and soft under here, so it makes it so easy to turn. They stay on my feet nice. They are padded, so they're comfortable. By grad time, I ended up dancing in heels for like 4 hours at a time, and let me tell you, you want the most comfortable shoe possible because it gets to the point where your toes are like screaming in pain at you. I don't even think the Block shoe would have lasted, to be honest. So invest in either So dancers. These are what I use. But if you really, like if you want a career in musical theatre specifically, invest in a pair of Ladukas. Now they are a little bit more expensive, and a lot of teachers will say don't worry about getting Ladukas until like outside of full time. But if you do want to invest in a pair of shoes that's going to last you a long time, and you know for a fact you want a long-term career in musical theatre, just invest in them and name your shoes, because every person out there is going to have these black So dancers. Tip number 7, and I genuinely feel like this is the most important tip, and it applies to everyone, not just dancers, but every pro athlete and literally every person out there, and that is focus on yourself. But no, seriously, when you are in full time, you are put in a room, 30, however many it be, of the most talented dancers in your age bracket for that school. You are going to compare yourself. Okay, now comparison can be a great learning tool. I'll give you an example of the way that I use that. I would look at the way that maybe like my friend Alayra, who's really good at hip hop, is doing a hip hop combo and see kind of how she's like grounding herself, and see if I can find that in my own body. That's a good way to use comparison, because I'm looking, okay, what's that dancer doing that I'm not? How is she finding that in her body? How can I find that in my body? I'm not going and copying, and I'm not judging myself for not being the same as that person. Focus on yourself is such a big one. This is gonna seem harsh, but you're not in full time to make friends, okay? It's not like high school. Just mentally prepare yourself for this. People are not in full time to make friends. Don't waste your time like trying to people please and being worried about what other people think of you. Like in term 1 and 2, I didn't really care what other people thought of me. I was just literally just there to focus on myself and my own training. Full-time dance, you're there to train. And if you make friends along the way, amazing. But you're probably only gonna make like 3 to 5 like true friends, and the rest of them, you're never gonna talk to them after full-time. That's honestly the harsh truth. And one of our teachers told us that, and I was like, psh, nah, it's so true. And that doesn't mean that you can't be nice to people or be friendly to people or network with people, try and make good friendships. But I'm just trying to say, focus on yourself and your own training first, okay? That is the most important thing. You are there for yourself and to improve your dancing. You're not there to impress Sally or fit into Sally's like clique or be like the coolest dancer at your full-time school, because let me tell you, no one cares about being cool or looking cool or like who's friends with who, because that's just like high school dynamics. My mindset the whole time was like, I'm here to train for myself, meet good like-minded people, and uplift people around me. I don't want you to go into it with a selfish mindset. You're there for you, you're there to be part of a community, but at the end of the day, it's like focus on yourself and your own training. Don't try critique others. That's another common mistake I saw happen. It's great if you want to give your friends advice. So helpful. It's about asking for consent first. With this also comes the fact that you are never, ever, 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 ever gonna dance the same as someone else. You have a completely different body than anyone else. You have a completely different set of training than everyone else. You have a completely different history than everyone else. And you have a completely different set of values than everyone else. So why would you dance the same as someone else? I spent so much time in my first few terms of full time being like, oh, why can't I look like so and so? My body doesn't move the same way as so and so. And then I looked around at some of the dancers who were doing really well, and I saw that they were all just dancing in a way that was true to them. And if something doesn't look good on their body, they just literally wouldn't do it. So they would focus on themselves and how they enjoyed dancing, as opposed to trying to like adapt their own body to fit what they think is the goal. So just know that you're never going to dance the same as someone else. So don't compare yourself to anyone else. Focus on yourself, focus on your own training, focus on your own strengths and weaknesses, what you need to work on. And also remember that you have different goals to other people, okay? There were people in my course who like more than anything wanted to book a musical theatre show. I personally, like maybe 5 years ago that was my goal, but me personally now, that's not my goal. I don't dream of like being on Broadway anymore, and that's okay. Like I really love commercial dance and choreography, and I'm gonna go down that path now. And it's so important to remember that you have different goals to other people. So of course you're gonna be different and train differently, and it's gonna get hard, but just remember you're there for yourself. Out of a place of love and self-compassion, focus on yourself. We're getting through it very fast. Okay. Number 8, talk to your teachers. I'm gonna be very honest here. My first few terms in full time, I was terrified talking to my teachers. Like they were so scary to me, and I kind of laugh about that now because like now those same teachers I'd happily go up and hug and like have a chat to, and it's so chill. But like at the start of full time, I was terrified of talking to them. A, because I looked up to my teachers so much, and I still obviously do, and I had so much respect for them. And B, which is very interesting, I didn't want to come across as needy or pushy, so I wouldn't talk to them out of a place of like trying to respect them, which I think now is so silly, okay? Your teachers are humans and you're human too, so it's like totally fine to talk to them and have a conversation. Like, it's not the end of the world. At the time, I just had the mindset that if I went up and talked to my teachers after class, people would think that I was being pushy or needy, and my teachers would think that I was being pushy or needy. Not the case at all. End of term 2, start of term 3, I started to really challenge myself to go and talk to my teachers, ask more questions when I needed to, and oh my God, it changed my dancing, and it changed my full-time experience, because all of a sudden teachers knew that I cared about being there, they knew that I was passionate, and I was able to actually like get my questions answered so that I could actually learn more. So make sure you talk to your teachers. Every teacher likes a different thing, okay? So don't try really like people please with this, but just be cautious of the fact that some choreographers really don't like people coming up to them and asking heaps of questions after class. But on the flip side of that, other choreographers really love to give feedback. You just really have to know your choreographers and kind of what they like, and just be cautious of that. Again, not people pleasing, just be cautious of who to ask, what to ask, and when. But having a casual conversation like, hey, how's your day been today? So fine. And it just shows that you're passionate to be there and you're human, and it helps you make connections and network. I wouldn't make that the sole purpose of your interaction with people though. I used to try and make that the sole purpose of my interaction, or I felt like that was the sole purpose of my interaction. I didn't really resonate with that, so I then flipped to the mindset of they're human, I'm human, finding that connection with another person, and just like finding the people that resonate with you. That's the way I kind of flip the script. Number 9, another one I wish I knew. Number 9 is to take class outside of full time. Now, what I mean by this is, yes, you will be training for 6 hours a day, depending on what your studio is. The last thing you're going to want to do is go to an open class late at night when you know that you have ballet starting at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, and your body is wrecked and your brain is tired. But you're going to have to push through. As much as you can, take open classes outside of full time. A couple of reasons for this. Number 1, it shows you're committed. Okay, if you go and take open class with the choreographers that you have in your full-time course, it shows you're committed. You're putting yourself out there with professional working dancers. You're putting in the extra work, the extra hours, showing the choreographer that you are committed to your career, and that is going to do wonders for the amount of work that you receive and for your training. Number 2 is it puts your name out there. Now, you have to remember, as much as we don't like to accept this, your teachers and your choreographers see like hundreds of faces a day. They probably teach at multiple different full-time schools, they take multiple different open classes, and they probably teach at multiple different studios. They've taught at multiple conventions, they've traveled, they've worked with heaps of different dancers, so chances are they're not going to remember you unless they have a reason to. If you are the dancer who puts themselves out there, challenges themselves, not in a cocky way, but in a form of self-love and like cultivating a positive environment, maybe you're standing in the front, you're engaged with the class, and then you go to their class outside of full-time, boom. You're going to put your name out there, and you're going to be able to connect with industry working professionals in those open classes, and that's an opportunity that you wouldn't have outside of open classes. In an open class, you've got working dancers, choreographers, people you've never seen before, who all have like different experience and different ways of dancing, and exposing yourself to that is so important. When I started going to open classes and putting myself out there, and my training just like skyrocketed because I was started to be exposed to all these amazing things. I saw people putting themselves out there, and I felt safer and more confident putting myself out there in an open class when I knew that I trained in that style every week. So it's such a good way to put yourself out there. Use it as a training opportunity. It doesn't mean you have to go to every single open class under the sun, but I just challenge you to watch what some of the dancers you look up to in full time are doing, and chances are they are going to extra open classes. For me personally, it meant that I was going to open classes out at Composed. Every time a choreographer that I loved would have a class at Brent Street, I would go there too. It was just about making time for those classes. And then as well, whenever one of my friends had an open class, I truly believe that it is so important to support people in your community who are trying to like shape their careers just as much as you. Making sure that you're going out and supporting your friends as well is super important. We're on to our last tip. My last tip is kind of a 2-in-1. That is to just be grateful and make the most of every opportunity. Gratitude is going to change your mindset. The reality is you're not going to get every job you want. You're not going to book every audition you want. Is it going to end your career? No. Okay? They're learning experiences. And the most powerful tool that I personally had in full-time throughout everything that happened, and if you want to know how my full-time year went, I'm going to make another video on that, stay tuned. Through it all, I stayed grateful. And that allowed me to make the most of every opportunity. Stay grateful, be present in the moment, and absorb as much as you can. Because the truth is, as many of your teachers will probably tell you, full-time is going to be the peak of your training years. And if you aren't present and you aren't grateful and you aren't making the most of it, you're going to get to the end of full time and be sitting there like, I just wasted that whole year. I got to the end of full time and I was so genuinely proud of myself because I knew deep down that every single class that I had, I gave 100%. I was committed, I was grateful, and I was always happy to be there. And I just think that in itself is so powerful. So I finished full time genuinely like completely happy and fulfilled and feeling like that was the best experience of my life because I was grateful and I made the most of it. And I took up every opportunity that came to me. And that is so important. Any opportunity that comes your way, even if you think you might not resonate with it, while you're in full time and you're training, just take it. Because you never know. You might not think that you want to be like a lyrical dancer. Maybe you book a job that's like a commercial lyrical video, and maybe you just end up loving it. You don't know, and that is the reality of it, okay? Take every opportunity that comes to you, audition for everything, use everything as an experience. When you're in full time, you're training, you're not going to be perfect, you're going to make mistakes, but that is genuinely the beauty of it. Be grateful, take every opportunity that comes your way, use it as a learning experience, and you will have the best full-time year of your life, just like I did. Alright guys, well, I'm going to wrap up that video there. I genuinely really hope that these tips helped you or you felt like you resonated with something. If you haven't already, make sure you write those down so that they stay in your head, and when you go into full time, you know that you're prepared. If you have any questions at all, feel free to chuck me a comment down below. I'm pretty speedy with my answers. I feel like a big sister right now. I'm like sharing life advice. I'm just glad that I can be that person for someone out there. So if you resonated with this video, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be uploading a couple more of these. I have so many tips to share of things that I wish I knew in full-time dance and things I wish I knew before moving abroad. So if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah! I'm off to the gym.